Drawing is a complicated thing and there are a lot of challenges in it. Perspective, construction, foam shadows, cast shadows, occlusion, reflected light, color temperature, highlights, subsurface scattering, anatomy. Phew, I'm already tired just talking about all of this, and that's not even the end of the list. But there is a way to make your life easier. One way to do that is to start using 3D. It can help a lot and make your work both easier to create and more convincing to look at. So, how can 3D help a 2D artist? For example, you can build simple 3D references to check whether your shadows or perspective are correct. Or you can model more detailed blockouts and then paint over them. I use this approach very often, especially for interiors and urban environments like architecture and cityscapes. There's way less struggle and choosing the angle and lighting becomes much easier. Another interesting case, when I worked at the game studio, I could take ready-made game models and use them for promo art. All I had to do was build the scene, pose the models and then paint over it nicely. If you are thinking, well, this sounds interesting, but I really don't want to spend a lot of time learning, I just want the essentials that solve my problem right away, then this video is for you. In this tutorial, I'll show you how knowing just 3 keys in Blender, you can significantly speed up your workflow for both characters and environments in 2D. And the whole setup will take less than 10 minutes. Quick disclaimer, 3D can help a lot, but it doesn't replace the fundamentals. Composition, value, color, those are still essential and you should keep studying them as well. Let's start with characters. Open Blender, on the first launch you'll see a window like this. You don't need to change anything here, just click to close it. Switch to the lighting preview here and delete the default cube. Just select it and press delete. Now at the top click Add, Mesh, UV, Sphere. You'll get a sphere. And here are the 3 main keys. G to move, S to scale, R to rotate. You can also press one of these keys and then press X, Y or Z to constrain the transformation to a specific axis. To orbit around the scene, hold the middle mouse button and use the scroll wheel to zoom. And with just this, you can already build a simple character blockout using basic shapes from the Add menu list. For example, I have this sketch of a granny and I want to build a blockout to see how my character works in different angles and lighting. I add a sphere, press S, then X, Y or Z on the keyboard to stretch it along an axis, and then I position them using G to move and R to rotate. For the arms I use cylinders, they are in the same menu just below the sphere. I add 2 cylinders, stretch them, scale them down and assemble simple arms. To see how the cast shadow will look on the ground, I'll add a plane. That's a flat square and we scale it up by pressing S so it fills more of the frame. The granny also has a goat, so I built it from spheres as well, flattening them where needed. If you're not sure which axis you need, that's fine. For example, to flatten a sphere, you can press S and then choose an axis. It will be highlighted, and if it's not the right one, you can just press another axis. Now I have a very simple blockout and I can rotate the camera and see how the character looks from different angles, even unusual ones, like a strong low angle or a top-down. This is especially useful if you are making, for example, a comic or a series of illustrations where the same characters appear from the multiple viewpoints. In the default Blender scene, there is always a lamp. You can select it, move it around and test how your character will look in a different lighting setups. For example, you can check how cast shadows will look, and that's very helpful because accurate cast shadows greatly increase the believability of your artwork. And then all you need to do is take a screenshot, bring it into Photoshop or any other 2D editor, and painting becomes much faster and easier having this blockout and lighting reference at hand. And before we move on to environments, if creating illustrations and concept art with less fuss and headache is something you're interested in, I have a great beginner-friendly Blender course. This is the easiest and most comfortable way to get into 3D. You will learn the key basics of Blender and be able to create simple 3D models and use them in your own illustrations. I guide you through the course at comfortable pace, explaining the main tools and shortcuts in a clear, simple way. And what could be better than making your own frog? Students say they really enjoyed the way the material is presented and they managed to learn all the basics in quite a short time. And even if you tried 3D before and felt frustrated, this time you'll definitely make it work. I even tested my course with kids, 6 and 11 years old, successfully made their own little frogs. The course will be available soon. Join the waiting list to get an early bird discount. All the links are in the description below. Now let's move on to environments. I'll show you how to do the same thing for a city scene, skipping the most annoying part of the drawing, perspective construction. When we open Blender, there is already a cube, so we can use it right away and scale it up to look like a building. But one cube is not enough, so click Add and create another one. It's also handy to add a plane right away, so it will be easier to place the houses along the surface. Constantly adding the cubes can get a bit tiring. So if you are ready, here's another useful shortcut, Shift-D. This command creates a duplicate of an object. You select an object and its copy appears, which you can move and modify however you like. And that's it! Using just these 4 keys, I built a street with houses of different sizes, placeholders for cars, and smaller cubes that act as signs. If you don't mind learning one more shortcut, here's another one, Shift-A. This way, adding a new objects will be a little faster. Right now, everything looks very simple and blocky, but even a rough base like this, which takes only like 5 minutes to make, will already make your work much easier, because the perspective and basic geometry are already set, and it will be easier to sketch your idea on top. To add lighting, switch the mode up here. As you can see, the default environment light is not enough. So select the lamp, so it turns orange. Then click on the light icon and change the type to sun. Now the street is lit like fury of 1,000 suns. Let's tone that down, set the strength here to 2 instead of 1,000. Now you can rotate the sun and try different lighting options. The more horizontal the light direction is, the more evening-like the scene will feel, and the more vertical it is, the more it will look like daytime or noon. And after that you can choose your angle and take a screenshot. But if you are ready to remember a couple more shortcuts, it will be more handy not to take a screenshot, but to place a camera and render the image. To do this, press the tilde key and choose View Camera. Then click the small arrow on the right, open the View tab and enable Camera to View. Now you can move the camera and choose the exact framing you need. By default, the image will be horizontal, but you can change the format in the panel on the right. And to render the angle you need, click here in the top right, Render Image. And then you can save it. And that's it! You can take your screenshot or your render and drop it into any 2D editor. And you already have the perspective and lighting ready, which means it will be much easier for you to paint your final piece on top of it. So, I showed you the simplest ways 3D can help you create better artwork in less time. But if you really level up in this, you can create much more interesting illustrations or even animations, and my course is a great place to start. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, it would really help the channel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one!